Football is back, both college and professional. Which one are you more excited for? I assume we're going to get mostly N for NFL, but you can sound off in the comments section. Which one are you more excited for? N for the NFL, C for college football. Let's dive into the latest on the Brian Robinson situation. Had originally been reported, hey, they're open to shopping him. He's a trade candidate. They'll listen to offers if they get the right price. Shout out to Jordan Schultz on this front, who kind of broke the news a couple days ago. Well, then he didn't play in the preseason game, and once you reach that point, it's pretty clear, to me at least, that the Brian Robinson era in Washington is about to end. It would certainly seem like the Commanders' running back room has changed as of late. Austin Eckler is, I think, going to be the lead back. Chris Rodriguez, Bam Rodriguez, maybe has surpassed Robinson a little bit. Now going by Bill, not Jacory. Bill Krosky-Merritt was a late-round pick that flashed in the one game he got to play last year and seems to have fans in that building. The second you sit out the second preseason game, it's very clear, okay, the trade is going to go down. Or unless something weird happens and there's just zero interest, I'd be surprised by. It certainly looks like we are on the path here of a trade is going to happen for the Commanders and for Brian Robinson. I think any trade cost is likely pretty cheap. I'd be a little bit surprised if he didn't end up getting moved. And if and when he does get moved, I think that'll end up being a pretty affordable cost for a new team. Running backs simply don't go for much unless you are the elite of the elite backs. If you're a Christian McCaffrey type. I remember Jordan Howard coming off a 1,000-yard campaign. Went for like a 5th/6th round pick. That was pretty cheap. DeAndre Swift, who was coming off a good year in Detroit, went for future picks way down the line. So I would anticipate a trade does happen, but it's probably pretty cheap. And it probably goes for a 6th or something along those lines. And then the Commanders probably become a very popular mock draft spot for running backs as the year winds down. So who will trade for Brian Robinson? I am operating under the assumption he gone. Let me know in the comments section of today's show who will end up trading for Brian Robinson. Let's mention some of those teams, some top destinations. How about the Chicago Bears? I don't know how much they truly trust Kyle Monungai. He was a 7th-round pick himself. I think a DeAndre Swift-Brian Robinson pairing actually works really well for a year. You've got a little bit of a Thunder and Lightnings thing going on there. Roshan Johnson a bit nicked up. I think the Bears, given their aggressiveness overall, then you could have your David Montgomery, Jamal Williams type right there. That actually I think fits very well as a pairing. The Cowboys will be linked to every running back ever, but they make a lot of sense for this one. Javonte Williams didn't play in the preseason because he's the lead back, and he wasn't that good in Denver last year. Miles Sanders didn't look good in the first preseason game, but he was coming back from injury. Jaden Blue's been banged up. A Blue and Robinson pairing actually, again, fits pretty well with some Thunder-Lightning combination there. It is an in-division trade, though, and that always complicates things. Houston Texans. Joe Mixon is banged up. Doesn't sound like he's going to be available for week 1 of the season. Nick Chubb is coming off a down year and another injury. I like Woody Marks. He's the 3rd down back. Again, I think that pairing works quite well. I think Field Yates was the first one to mention Houston there, by the way. The 49ers. Look, they can't get anyone to stay healthy right now in that backfield. I think I saw Isaac Grendo is coming back soon for San Francisco. I am still kind of convinced that the Niners are sacrificing backs to keep Christian McCaffrey healthy for the entire season, but they do need somebody to be there as just a rotation piece, and Robinson, I think, could certainly help do that there. And I'll throw out a 5th team that's totally cheating, a team we don't know about yet. Somebody loses a guy to injury between now and roster cutdown time, and they need a back, and the Commanders get a little bit more out of a trade. That's why you could see this coming, maybe not even possible comes early this week, but it could happen Sunday or Monday before cutdown time. That would not be a shock. Some other potential fits. These are ones I've seen thrown out there from others. I've seen the Bengals and Browns. At some point, I think the Browns will pay Quinshon Judkins and get that squared away. The Bengals I think Chase Brown's going to have a huge year. I think they actually like Taj Brooks. I've seen Green Bay mentioned because Marshawn Lloyd's been a bit nicked up, but Josh Jacobs will probably handle most of the duty there. The Chargers, amid the Najee Harris eye stuff, just let Amari Hampton loose for personal reasons because he's on my dynasty team. The Saints I've seen thrown out there. I don't think they're at a spot to go trade for running backs, but it's the Saints, so you guess you can never really rule them out. Today's show is made possible by Ethos. As a father with one kid and a second on the way, trust me when I say life insurance matters. It's not fun to think about what would happen if something happened to you, but you do need to be prepared. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/NFL Daily. That's ethos.com/NFL Daily. Ethos is a trustworthy company that disrupts the traditional life insurance industry, and it's more affordable than you might think. Ethos is an online platform that makes getting life insurance fast and easy to protect your family's future in minutes, not months. There is no complicated process, and it's 100% online. No medical exam is required. You just answer a few health questions and get a quote in as little as 10 minutes. 3 million families have completed their applications and trusted Ethos to help find the right coverage. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/NFL Daily. That's ethos.com/NFL Daily. Links in the comments section and the description of today's show. Let's go to Trey Hendrickson. Reports that emerged on Sunday the Bengals were, again, listening to trade offers for Hendrickson, that suddenly the trade was totally back on the table and there was some potential chaos there. Well, maybe we needed to end up slowing our roll a little bit there. Since that initial report, which I think was mostly from NFL Network, it has since come out that wasn't actually new for the Bengals, that they've been having those trade talks for weeks. And the Bengals' asking price remains the same, a 2026 first and a young defensive player. It's implied he's a good defensive player, not the guy that nobody wants on their roster. So those details indicate we actually haven't changed anything on the Trey Hendrickson front. That the Bengals, unless they are willing to lower their asking price, are not going to trade Trey Hendrickson. If you watch that Bengals-Commanders preseason game, boy, it sure looks like that defense needs him out there, huh? It is very clear, I think, to all impartial observers, the Bengals, and this is a slur, they've bungled this. They have made a mess of this entire Hendrickson conversation. They knew what the edge market was going to do, and they kind of didn't change their offer. They could have gotten a pretty good package back pre-free agency, gotten some picks, gotten some players, freed up cap space, added more defensive players. They had options in front of them, and they did nothing. And that's the worst choice you can ever make in this type of scenario. Hendrickson's awesome. He's older than most. He's not an elite run defender, but he has had 17.5 sacks each of the past 2 seasons. He is, I think, like the one truly nitty-gritty, reliable player on this Bengals defense right now. It's going to be expensive. And the issue for the Bengals and Hendrickson reportedly isn't the average per year. It's the guaranteed money. Last reports I've seen, it's been this way for a while, Bengals aren't offering any additional money guaranteed beyond this season. Why would Hendrickson accept that? Whatever you're getting via the new signing bonus and the guaranteed money this year, they can just franchise tag you next year and you'll get more guaranteed. Doesn't really make any sense if that's the process. That's why it kind of went belly up, because they made progress on the years and average per year, and then the guaranteed money fell apart, and that's what matters the most in the end. So will the Bengals end up trading Trey Hendrickson? Y for yes, N for no. Let me know in the comment section of today's show. Will the Bengals actually end up moving on from Hendrickson? Y for yes, N for no. There have been 3 reported Hendrickson trade fits. This was mentioned by Jordan Schultz. Carolina, Cleveland, Indianapolis. Take Cleveland off the board. It actually doesn't make any sense to them at all. I kind of hate that idea for Cleveland. That's weird to me. It's also in division. No. Indy makes sense. They've invested some in edges, but they have his former DC there in Lou Anarumo. Carolina drafted several edges, but they're not going to move a first for him. So, again, the price is an issue. 3 teams beyond those 3 I think makes some sense. Again, the first and a young player causes major issues in these talks. But the Detroit Lions, they're going to pay Aiden Hutchinson soon. The money kind of becomes a problem there. Green Bay was reportedly involved with, or made an offer for Micah Parsons, and Rapport mentioned that they were a top fit too, which I think, as we'll talk about Micah Parsons in a little bit, Cowboys fans would go crazy over that, but AFC, NFC makes some sense there. And the Patriots straight up said, we're open to moving a first or second if we get the right player. I don't think there are any close on the Hendrickson side, because I think the Bengals' asking price is so high, it just seems unlikely to go down. From one team that runs itself poorly with contracts to another team that does a bad job with contracts. The Dallas Cowboys. Adam Schefter has an update on the Micah Parsons front, saying he thinks a divorce seems to be coming between these two parties. Here's what Schefter said. Could a deal happen? Yes. There's zero indication that it's going to happen. It sounds like at some point in time, whether that's now, after the season of 2 seasons, that the two sides are headed towards a divorce at some point. Look, we didn't hear stuff like that for CeeDee Lamb. That was not how the reporting went. We did hear stuff like that for Dak Prescott. Actually, both times for Dak Prescott, we heard things like that. I remember the 2020 article, divorce coming was the headline on ESPN. Rapport said he was going to be a free agent, a year ago, essentially. Got paid. We have been in the same spot on the Micah Parsons front since the trade request happened. Neither side's talking to the other. Ego is involved. Hurt feelings are involved. There's a lot of bad involved. And I think from an organizational perspective, anyone who says anything other than this has been a failure from the Cowboys, just like it's been a failure for the Bengals and Trey Hendrickson, that all of this was avoidable and fixable and solvable and never should have reached that point, well, here we are. It's an issue between these sides, and it's not going to go away until one side, the Jones boys, calls the family there. So what is the % chance the Cowboys get the Micah Parsons deal done? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Obviously, 0 to 100% is your scale. What is the % chance the Cowboys get the Micah Parsons deal done? There's a couple ways I think this ends up playing out for the Parsons and Cowboys. Number one, the Jones boys finally call, because they've not called Micah in his camp since then. And they offer him and his agent, David Mulgeta, everything that they want in a contract. And I would argue it'd be pretty damn hard for Micah's camp to not say, wow, we got the 4 years and record-setting guaranteed and record-setting average per year. Yeah, we're going to say no to that. Seems unlikely. The Cowboys have 3 years of team control over Micah. 5th-year option, 2 tags, essentially. Tough to say no to that. Now, if they say no, or if the deal never comes for whatever reason and the Jones boys want to stay stuck in their really stupid ways, I think Micah Parsons plays out the year. If we get past week 1 and there is no deal, if we get to week 1, there's no deal done before the season, I don't think he's going to take a midseason extension offer. Like at that point, they're probably not doing contract talks, period. So you got a handful of days left here. And at that point, firmly in the Micah off-season trade category of, you know what, this might be cooked all the way, and you might actually end up getting a trade here. Tag and trade, the most likely outcome with, in the off-season, ton of teams available, more cap space, knowing the draft capital. That's when you could probably better leverage a Micah Parsons trade. Now, if you want more NFL rumors, updates, everything else in between, you've come to the right spot. Hit that sub button so you don't miss out. YouTube.com/chatsportstv. Some news quickly here earlier today. The Colts naming Daniel Jones their starting quarterback over Anthony Richardson. And that effectively ends the Anthony Richardson era. And it kind of feels like to me that the Shane Steichen, Chris Ballard one is next up in line. You drafted the young, raw quarterback who you had to develop, and you didn't develop him. Probably made some errors along the way in said development. That is not a good sign. And you don't normally get 2 cracks at it. And if the Daniel Jones era doesn't work, which, come on, it's not going to. Let's be for real here. Like, Shane was like, yeah, he played great in 2022. I don't know. Did he, though? My boy Pat McAfee was like, Daniel Jones is going to run wild as the quarterback and lead the Colts to success. If the first thing you're talking about of a multi-year NFL experience quarterback is, he can run, you're cooked. That is not a good thing. If you're that far in, that race kind of mostly been run. So I think we're barreling towards a lot of change this offseason coming in Indy.